back. Now we're focusing on the Prime Minister's visit to the US. Prime Minister Modi met US President Joe Biden in Greenville, Delaware during a bilateral meeting held on the sidelines of the Quad Summit. The leaders focused on strengthening the India-US comprehensive global strategic partnership with both Prime Minister Modi and President Biden, emphasizing the strong and dynamic relationship between both nations. Now they also discussed focusing on deepening US-India ties, exchanging views on global and regional issues as well, is what their readouts mentioned as well. I'm being joined at this point by Dr. Tara Kataria, former Director, National Security Council, Secretariat. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Now, Dr. Kataria, talking about the Biden-Modi bilateral, it was a key bilateral, quite sentimental as well, because it was held at the hometown of Biden, and it is the last bilateral that Prime Minister Modi and Biden will be having as well. They discussed quite a few things. Firstly, deepening India-US ties as well is what's mentioned. What can we read into this particular bilateral, ma'am?
Well, for one thing, you gave up a presidential visit in Delhi, and you shifted the whole Quad meeting to Delaware, right? That itself for me is a huge deliverable because it was a very generous gesture, right? Otherwise, for any political leader, a presidential visit is huge. Number two, if when you look at at least what I've looked at in terms of the Quad joint statement, there's a lot of India deliverables, and that includes the cancer shot, that includes the space-based web portal for Mauritius. There is the IORA, Indian Ocean Region Association, the IORA centrality, which we've included. Then there is about 50 Quad scholarships which being proposed. I'm very glad to see this. We have proposed Quad scholarships in India. Normally, it's most of us is this Indian students going abroad, blah, blah, all the rest. Here it is engineering students to be sponsored for undergraduate courses in India. The Coast Guard initiative, I suspect, is ours. Maitri is ours, the Maitri initiative. So there's a lot of India-specific deliverables in this Quad Summit,
Right,
which I have not seen earlier.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Dr.
Ah.
Kataria, stay on with us. I'm also being joined at this point by Vishnu Shrom, joining us from Long Island. Vishnu, now, interestingly, we've got information just now that the Quad has condemned the missile launches in the Indo-Pacific. They've also focused on peace in the region. If you could take us through what their latest statement says.
I think there are two parts of this visit which we need to talk about right now, and the key aspect of this is that this is a landmark bilateral agreement which we've seen today between India and the United States. There was a lot which was said when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was over here in 2023, but in terms of deliverables and where India and the United States now stand, it is fairly remarkable. So let's talk a little bit about that, and we'll talk about the Quad later on, because the big takeaway, in fact, is this bilateral relationship and where that strategic relationship between India and the US actually stands. India and the US are committed to a speedy transfer of jet engine technology to India. This is very, very important, the fact that it's come up at a time when there have been delays in the supply of American engines to India's Tejas fighters. Number two, the Indian Navy will be working together with the US Navy along economic routes or maritime routes, I should say, in the Arabian Sea to ensure the security of these routes. So the closeness of both these navies working together is very important. Enhanced maritime domain awareness, that might just be words, but as I see it, it could actually imply information sharing on the movement, potentially even of submarines which the Chinese may be operating in the waters of the Indian Ocean. So that's important in terms of intelligence. Number four, there is going to be a fab which is going to be set up in India for the construction or the manufacture of state-of-the-art semiconductors. India and the US have often spoken about semiconductors, and the fact that they're going to be doing this now in India using state-of-the-art technology for a variety of reasons is another important sort of aspect of this. In addition to that, there is mention of the deal for 31 Sea Guardian and Sky Guardian Predator drones for the Indian Armed Forces, taking a step forward. It is widely expected that this multi-billion-dollar deal will go through. the United States is backing India in getting a permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council. This has been a time-honored position of India, and it seems that that's something that America is once again reiterating. So let me stick for the moment with the first part of your question. The bilateral aspect, it's very, very significant indeed, but you're absolutely right. What's happened in Quad is also important in terms of that statement. But for me, the big takeaway is this bilateral.
Right, Vishnu, thank you for joining us and bringing us those details. Let me go back to Dr. Kataria joining us as well. Dr. Kataria, now, Dr. Karta, I beg your pardon. Now, in fact, talking about, like Vishnu was mentioning, the Quad has now in their statement also said that they're more strategically aligned. And interestingly, semiconductor manufacturing would be a game changer for India specifically, especially since China is also in the race for that.
No, the semiconductor is obviously extremely central because that, as you know, lies at the node of almost everything else. But we've also committed a huge budget for this, in last year, if I'm right. And there is already a US company, Micron, which is positioned in Gujarat, which is making these chips for us, and that I think is due to come online by March 2025. So if this is being added on, then that's a huge thing. But also I'd like to, the speedy delivery of GE engines is something which we are seeing is important. I mean, GE had a lot of problems during the COVID era, right? So it was not, people were spinning all kinds of conspiracy theories. It is not. GE engines had laid off not laid off, they had sort of semi-retired a bunch of people. So they had issues during Quad with workforce. The engine has been phased out of the US Air Force. So if that is being delivered, that is something really good, as well as, of course, the Predator, the drones, which we've been waiting for some time, given the increasing threat that we're seeing across the Indian Ocean, as well as, of course, in other areas which you know. So those are, but can I just point out one thing in the Quad statement, which is very important, is just a couple of lines.
Sure,
but
ma'am.
it is Quad Indian Ocean's logistics network. This is very, very important. And it's just a very glancing reference. But the rest of it, cancer, moonshot, and all is very good. But this is important. You're talking of airlift capability. That is one area where we also need help. And most importantly, you are well positioned to be a logistics node. I mean, look where the Indian Peninsula stands out. You are central to being that node for logistics across the Indian Ocean. So I think that's really important.
Absolutely. I'm also being joined by Pramit Makode, the co-founder and director of Boston Center for Excellence for Human Development, and also the president of Global Citizens Forum, USA. Thank you for joining us, sir. Now, like Dr. Karta was mentioning, logistics, especially if carried out by the Quad, would be quite a game-changing incident because of its location, right, and the countries that are involved as well, sir. Your thoughts?
Yeah, see, 60% of the trade and the goods movement happens from this corridor, Indo-Pacific region. So it is extremely important that this whole emphasis on the logistics and that particularly Quad is putting a lot of focus on that, and that maritime security is directly linked with that. China has taken a big advantage of Quad not being that active initially. And we have seen that how the inflation goes up or down, because if the logistics gets disturbed, there's a lot of things are directly linked with the inflation of many goods. So that has been very well understood by the Quad, and Quad is rightly focusing on the maritime security and particularly the whole logistics and the supply chain aspect of it, because it is not going to affect only these 4 countries, but the entire new global order is very much dependent on this Indo-Pacific region.
Absolutely. Mr. Makode, since you've brought up maritime security as well, the Quad statement mentioned a focus on peace in the Indo-Pacific, which they have been reiterating in all their summits. They've also condemned the missile launches in the region as well. How significant of a statement is this?
It is extremely important, as we said, that, not just this particular aspect of maritime security, but this Quad is also talking about the emerging technology, the cyber attacks. So there are a lot of things which are very much linked with the security nowadays. It is not just the missile attacks, but the cyber attacks are also linked because all the optical fibers are lying down underneath the sea, and there is good amount of risk that everybody is having if that is not being properly protected. So these four countries are very rightly talking to each other, and this Quad, as we all know, has come a long way in last almost 8 years. Every year when we see there is a great progress in this summit, and this becoming more and more meaningful for the entire world, not just for the four countries.
Right, Dr. Karta, now the Quad has also said that they are seriously concerned about the situation in the East and South China Seas. Now that's also an important statement, especially since they've also condemned North Korea's destabilizing ballistic missile launches and its pursuit of nuclear weapons as well. Now a direct statement on North Korea, of course, the US has not made earlier, but these statements, of course, come in the line of them pushing forward peace and a futuristic global order as well.
Yeah, actually, I haven't seen such a strong statement before in Quad. They've taken this North Korean threat very seriously. I mean, I think it was in September 19th, if I'm not mistaken, where they talked of this super large conventional warhead, possible nuclear warhead, which they're using in those two missile tests.
Right.
So those are really, really serious issues. In if the also the fact that the Coast Guard, cooperation has been included in this Quad statement. You remember it was the Chinese Coast Guard which went and rammed a Philippine ship. They boarded the ship, they attacked them with knives and things. So these are all, while they are not directly saying anything about China, the logistics, the Coast Guard, the whole effort is towards pushing back against this Chinese, the kind of things they're doing in the South China Sea. It's extremely worrisome. So the India steps back from these military, references to any kind of military issues, but nonetheless, the fact that the Indian Coast Guard will also be part of this initiative, together with the U.S. Navy and the Indian Navy, that is quite something. It's quite a coming together of these forces to sort of, what shall I say, enhance their capability to do whatever it may be in the future. So that's pretty important, and that means they're taking
Absolutely.
this. Yes.
Absolutely, ma'am. Now, Mr. Makade, coming back to technology that we were talking about, the discussion in the Quad, and not just the Quad, but the bilateral between Prime Minister Modi and Joe Biden as well, focused more on trade and technology, as well as alternate energy and green energy as well. That's something that the Quad has been focusing on since its conception, sir.
This technology, when you cannot ignore now, when any discussion around technology, out of the Fortune 500 companies, I think 400 plus companies have their design center, research and R&D centers in India. So most of the critical research is happening in India, or at least India has a significant fingerprint in that research. So when you talk about any emerging technologies, whether it is AI or ML, which is going to be a huge disruptor, we have just seen the initial days of AI right now, but next 3 years will be a huge disruptor through artificial intelligence. And that's where India, when India takes any leadership, and our Honorable Prime Minister, he always thinks of democratization of that technology. It's not that technology is only proprietary to Japan or to America or the advanced nations. He wants to bring the technology for the global good. That is वो वसुधैव कुटुंबकम का जो हम बात करते हैं. That philosophy he always brings it in every summit, in every discussion. So technology, India is going to play a huge role. And when the Prime Minister Modi will take leadership, and he's already taking a leadership in these discussions, so he will make sure that it is all democratized, and the benefit of technology is not limited to only few countries, but to the entire world.
Absolutely, Mr. Makade, on that point on democratizing, the global order as well as international forums as well, the Quad has once again reiterated that they're going to reform the UN Security Council. They've pushed for permanent seats for Africa, Asia, Latin America, Caribbean as well in a reformed UN Security Council, which is again something that they've been pushing for some time now.
See, UN Security Council seat or permanent seat for India is extremely important. US understands that value, and that US understands the strategic importance of Indo-US partnership and how to counter China, it is extremely important for India to get that UN Security Council seat. But it's not just with America alone, but America having that right kind of friendship and right tone for this in favor of India is going to go a long way for India in securing that seat. And when you talk about, you just mentioned about Africa and South America, and that's where the people have seen last year, we have seen the real global leader
Right.
the whole world has seen when we had done a very successful G20 summit. We have become edit at G21. So Prime Minister is not looking only for 1.5
Right.
billion Indians, but he's also brought another 1.1 billion African into the
Right.
mix by doing G21. And in all this discussion, he makes sure that, as I keep repeating, that he's not only thinking
Right.
about India or America, he's thinking about the entire global order to be get benefited with all these initiatives.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pramit Makuday and Tara Karta, for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this development.